Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Heidi Bush. I am the Membership Director at the North Suburban YMCA. It is my pleasure to welcome Heal Your Heel Pain Naturally and Enjoy Life Again, presented by Denise Schwartz. Denise Schwartz is from Manual Touch Physical Therapy. She is a licensed physical therapist and specializes in treating pain and using a holistic approach to discover the root cause of pain and provide natural healing options. In the next hour, you will learn the three main causes of foot pain. The number one mistake people make with their heel and foot pain, tips to ease foot pain and other types of pain, and how to heal naturally. The YMCA Education Series is free and open to the public. And as a 501c3 charity, we do rely on fundraising to help us serve the community. If you enjoyed today's presentation and want to help us continue to offer free programs like this, we welcome your donations to the North Suburban YMCA. You can visit our website at nsymca.org to donate and see all that we are doing and planning. The YMCA Education Series programs typically last an hour. Denise will take questions both during and at the end of the presentation. And if everyone could mute themselves during the presentation so that the background noise does not interfere with the presentation, and then you can unmute yourself when they open the forum for questions. So enough about the why. You came here today to learn about healing pain, and with no further ado, I give you Denise Schwartz.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you.
I've got Barbara and Helen, and I don't know what your name, the third person.
Pradyuman.
I'm sorry?
And the Pradyuman.
Fatima?
Yeah.
Hi, nice to meet you. Why don't you go ahead and mute, and you might want to, hit the microphone button and the video button so you're muted and the video is off. Do you know how to do that?
You want me to? This is mute. I don't.
There you go. Perfect. Okay. All right. Heidi, did you make me a co-person so I could share?
I did. Let me try again.
Wait, no, I think it's there. I just didn't.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
It says multiple participants can share.
I got it.
Okay.
Okay, hold on a second. Okay. Uh-oh. Am I still there? Everybody okay? Heidi, can you see that?
We can see your screen.
Oh, okay. I'm on a Chromebook today and not my laptop, so it looks a little different, but you can see the screen. Can you see the little arrow moving around?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Okay, we're good. All right, thank you, Heidi, for welcoming me. My name is Denise Schwartz. I'm a physical therapist, and I own the Manual Touch Physical Therapy in Wheeling. I'm at the corner of Milwaukee and Dundee, so very close to Northbrook. And I really enjoy doing these webinars. I've been doing it for, I don't know when Karen started this, maybe 4+ years ago. So I'm very grateful that she allows me to educate you, the Northbrook members and anybody else who's joining us in how to take care of themselves. So today we're going to talk about heel pain or foot pain, but a little bit about myself. Let's see, hold on a second. There we go. Okay. I've been a physical therapist for many, many years now, over 30 years. I originally started my career working at Lutheran General Hospital. And while I was there, I saw people in the hospital. And after a couple of years, I concentrated on outpatient therapy, which is when you come to see me, which is what my clinic is now. And I've been doing that the bulk of my career. When I first got out of school, I knew that back pain was the #1 reason people went to see their doctors. And because of that, I took a lot of continuing education classes to become an expert in treating back pain. And what I would call those are more traditional techniques. And I got really, really good at it. And then, I don't know, after about 10 years or so, I started studying a non-traditional therapy called integrative manual therapy. And I realized after a couple years of training, I could help everybody with these non-traditional techniques. I felt like there was some limitation with the traditional techniques. Some people didn't respond to them. Some people would get more flared up from them. It would cause them more discomfort. I actually wound up leaving the hospital after about 14 years with my mentor at the time, to start Center IMT, where we did exclusively integrative manual therapy. And I was with them for about 7 years. We saw a lot of chronic pain, chronic illness, patients who don't get better elsewhere. And then after about 7 years, I parted ways with them, and I started the manual touch physical therapy in the current space I'm in Wheeling. Along the way, of course, I've taken many continuing education courses to become experts in treating all parts of the body. And I had, along the way, developed a passion for running, and did a lot of education and study to become an expert in treating runners as well. I am no longer running, but I still treat runners. When I started my practice 12 years ago, I realized the traditional techniques that I used to do were still helpful for people that I wasn't doing anymore. And I brought those back. And so now my practice is, we use a very whole body approach using the traditional and non-traditional therapies and exercises to get people back doing the things they love to do. Something I did forget, a little housekeeping, just like Heidi said, you know, you guys are all used to these webinars by now. I cannot see your faces right now, so I can't see a raised hand. I don't even know if I can get the chat box on the type of computer I'm on. I can't. So if you have any questions, leave a question in the chat box, or write them in there. And then at the end, we'll take a look at that and I can answer your questions then. Okay. So this seminar is about foot pain. Now there's a lot of different things that could cause foot pain. We're going to focus on some more, just a few specific foot pain, mostly centered around having pain in your heel. So typically someone who might have foot pain in their heel, they might complain of pain first thing in the morning. They might complain of pain at standing up after sitting for a while. Some people will have achiness after doing a lot of activity, whether they're walking a lot, standing on their feet a lot. Sometimes it's just from rest, just like being in bed all day, all night. And in the morning you get up and the foot is so stiff and painful first thing in the morning. Sometimes people will feel better after they start moving around, and some people feel worse. So those are some of the things that we might find to help us discern what is causing that foot pain. The foot is a very complex part of our body, not as complex as our hands, but fairly similar. There are 23 bones in the foot, 29 muscles, 30 ligaments. And the bottom of the foot has a thick fascial tissue layer called your plantar fascia. And here it is, you can see it goes up towards your toes and it connects down in the heel here, okay? Over your heel bone, which is known as your calcaneus, is a fat pad. And all of those components can contribute to your heel pain. And we have to discern what part is contributing. This plantar fascia will connect to a tendon that runs up the back of your heel called your Achilles tendon, and it attaches to your calf muscles. So they're all very interconnected. Those calf muscles, there are two major ones. I don't think I have a picture of those. No, I don't. Called your gastroc and your soleus. The gastroc actually will attach to your femur bone, which is up your thigh bone. The soleus attaches to the tibia, which is down in the lower part of the leg. So you could have a problem down in here in the foot and feel some problem up in your calf somewhere, or vice versa. So those are things that we're going to look at. So who are some of the people who get heel pain? You could have flat feet and get heel pain. You can have a high arch foot like me and get heel pain. People who don't move around a lot can get it and people who are very active. So anybody is susceptible. I don't know if we see it so much in young people so much, the heel pain, but certainly by the time teenagers are becoming very active, they could be prone to it, but probably it doesn't really start until your 20s and older. Currently, my aunt, who is 77, 78, is having heel pain. And do I have anybody else right now? I had a couple of runners who had them in the last year, people playing tennis. Okay, so what causes heel pain? And these are 4 things, very common causes that could be the cause of your heel pain. Probably the most common and something that you might have heard of is your plantar fasciitis. And what that means is an inflammation of that plantar fascia down here. And that's initially, when people start feeling pain here, they may be inflamed here before they start feel it here. And then what happens is this inflammation is really caused by a little micro tear in the tissue here. And the pulling of that on this area is what causes the pain here in the heel. So it's not necessarily a problem in the heel, but a problem here up in the arch. You could have a heel spur, you could have a stress fracture, or it could be, remember I talked to you about, there is a fat pad here. And as people get older, that fat pad becomes thinner and thinner, and just a loss of that can cause pain. So let's first talk about plantar fasciitis. Technically, it should be called plantar fasciopathy. Plantar fasciitis, technically, in the medical literature, means an inflammation of the plantar fascia tissue. What we do know is after a couple of weeks, that inflammation goes away and it's not acute anymore, becomes chronic, and that's a fasciopathy. That's where you have that little micro tears in those tissues, and we have to help heal that area. So who are people who have plantar fasciitis? They're the ones who tell me they have pain first thing in the morning or after sitting a while. My runners or walkers will feel it as they begin to walk or run, and then it might ease up. And then after they're done walking or running, it might feel achy later in the day. Sometimes it hurts throughout the whole walk or run and they really can't do that anymore. But if we catch it early enough, it's usually eases up as you go along. When I see people in the clinic and we're assessing for plantar fascia, what I might do is, so let's say this is your foot. Let's see. So here's your foot and here's your big toe. I'll flex the foot and flex that big toe. And if you have pain on the bottom of your foot, that's usually a positive sign that you have plantar fasciitis. When I poke around on the bottom of a foot, this is a foot, poke around in the arch, that's usually plantar fasciitis. Typically, if it's plantar fasciitis, if I poke around on the heel, it may not hurt so much there from poking around, but it hurts more up in the arch of the foot or on the inner part of the foot. But it can be point tender there as well. So what do we do? I think we'll come back to that. So for plantar fasciitis, it's very easy to decrease the pain pretty quickly with a few specific exercises. And here is a PDF, a sheet, a handout that I've created on 10 things that you can do for plantar fasciitis. Oh, I wonder if I have, oh wait, oh, there's a picture. Can you see this picture here? This is what I call a spiky ball. And you can massage the bottom of your foot, not the heel, but the arch of your foot on there. That'll help loosen up those tissues. We need to do some stretches to your calves. And I have a video of that on my website on how to stretch out your calf. You can, if you're particularly uncomfortable, roll your foot on a frozen water bottle. see here. I wonder if I have a picture of these. No, I need to do some updating in my pad here. Anyway, I have something called toe spreaders. They're correct toes right here. And those will stretch out the bottom fascia on the bottom of your foot and help that promote healing as well. It'll help you promote balance as well. Probably one of the more important things to do is to get a good pair of shoes. There is a pair of shoes that most of my patients like called Kuru, K-U-R-U. You do have to order them online. One of my patients discovered them, and everyone I've recommended it to says it helps them quite a bit. I think it helps support the heel quite a bit. In order to pick out a good pair of shoes, I created this blog post, and this is a link. So if you put your email and your name in the chat box, I can send you this PowerPoint presentation with these links, as well as I'll send you some ebooks on how to take care of yourself. And then you'll also have here's the link on how to download that page as well. So go ahead and put your email and your name in the chat box. What else with plantar fasciitis? You know, I tell you, I had one of my best friends. Oh, plantar fasciitis was quite common during this pandemic because people were sitting a lot and people were at home working and they weren't wearing their shoes. And as a result, their feet didn't have any support and the tissue became irritated. The plantar fascia became irritated. So it's actually really important to wear good shoes around the house some of the time. You don't have to wear them all day, but for people, particularly people working from home, you needed those arches supported a little bit. When they're just sort of hanging out, flapping in the wind like that, the plantar fascia gets a little stretched out, it gets a little bunched up, and it gets irritated. One of my friends, this happened to, and she had a bout of plantar fasciitis a few years ago. And we took care of it pretty quickly. And then it started acting up again during the pandemic. And she wasn't wearing shoes, you know, because you don't need to. So I brought her in. I reminded her of her exercises. And like within a week of doing the stretching, the massaging to the bottom of the foot, wearing her shoes again, she was at least 50% or more better. And she could tolerate walking and exercising. And then it just takes time for it to heal as you are doing these exercises and stretching, but then you don't have to give up. You know, my aunt was in Florida. No, she was in Florida, but they were seeing her granddaughter's graduation in Michigan, and she couldn't even walk. It hurt so bad. She was in a wheelchair. However, because she didn't know what was going on, and when I talked to her about it, I said, "Oh, this is just plantar fasciitis, and you actually need to stretch and move." And massage it. You don't want to baby it. So once she started doing those exercises and once she was here back in town, I reviewed them with her. I did some massaging to the bottom of her foot and stretched it out. And now she's doing pretty well. It's not hurting so much. But as a result of not walking well because it hurt, her hip on the other side bothered her. So we had to address that as well. So it's very important once you start having pain to figure out what's going on, figure out what you need to do for it so you don't aggravate something else. We'll talk about that more a little bit later. Okay, so I think that's about plantar fasciitis. The second most common cause of heel pain is a heel spur. And that's literally, if anybody has gone to a doctor and had an x-ray of their foot and they see a heel spur, it literally looks like a dagger coming out of the bottom of your foot, like this bony protuberance. And you can't imagine how it couldn't be killing you. And some people it does, but it's pretty nasty looking. And so for those people, you might have plantar fasciitis. So we really treat you the same as we do for plantar fasciitis. Some people just have heel spur pain without the plantar fasciitis. And in those cases, we might use like a silicone heel cup to protect the foot. In addition, with the plantar fasciitis, we might get you some over-the-counter inserts, some orthotics. Some people need custom made, but more often than not, just the over-the-counter is fine. The same thing with the heel spur. The podiatrist might make something custom there as well. It's really a form of arthritis when you develop this pain there. That's why we don't want to roll that spiky bole over the heel of your foot. It's very irritating to do that. You want to do it over the soft tissue, not the bony area. So how do we discern if you have a stress fracture? So like my aunt, she didn't know she had a fracture. So then, yeah, you would baby it and protect it. But when it's a soft tissue issue, such as plantar fasciitis, we really need to move and stretch and strengthen in order to promote the healing. A stress fracture in your heel, you would feel pain with weight bearing. So meaning when you walk, every step would hurt and it probably wouldn't go away. It's almost, you couldn't walk on it. And it doesn't decrease with movement. It might feel worse. It might feel really achy afterwards. It might hurt while you're trying to sleep because the bone is really irritated. And we usually can find a spot, particularly, poking around on your heel and like, oh, that really hurts. And you define that by an x-ray. Because I'm not a podiatrist or a doctor, I don't know when they decide how people, depending on the fracture, they usually will put you in a walking boot, or do you need to be non-weight bearing? So that's up to the doctor to decide. Usually if it's a stress fracture and not a full-blown fracture, my father-in-law actually fell, and I don't know how he did it, but he broke his heel bone. And I think it actually split, and it was so bad they made him non-weight bearing, meaning he was not allowed to put weight on it to walk. He's 85 years old. He's very heavy. He's very large. There's no way he was going to be able to walk, even with a walker, on one leg. So he had to be in a wheelchair for 4 weeks until they put him in a walking boot. And then he could work with the walker walking. But a stress fracture usually is a very, it's kind of like a hairline fracture in the heel. And it's not as, it just needs to heal on its own. It's not like you need surgery or anything like that. And so usually they put you in a walking boot and you use a walker to walk. And then you would come into therapy afterwards to really re-educate your leg on how to work. The fourth common cause of heel pain is fat pad atrophy. And this was that thinning of that fat pad on the bottom of the heel. People usually have pain with weight bearing. The way we discern if it's really the fat pad, you usually can feel if it's really thin, and it's like, and it's not necessarily pain first thing in the morning. It's not pain at rest. So we can discern that it's not the other stuff when it's usually this. And usually the treatment for that is taping and some orthotics. So physical therapy doesn't help a whole lot with that, but we can discern if it's coming from that, and we can tape it up. So here are some comments that people came to me about heel pain. Here's someone, she said, we gave you her the confidence to know what was wrong, which is what we did with my aunt, because she didn't know what was wrong, so she was in a wheelchair. But once I told her what the problem was and what the treatment was, she really felt she still had heel pain, but she could walk better, and it felt better, and it was tolerable, and she didn't have to give up her activities. And she felt much more confident and safe in order to keep moving. Here's, I saw Denise for ongoing heel pain as well as back pain injury. She had had the heel pain for several years, and it was significantly better, and it wasn't interfering with her activity anymore once she learned how to do the exercises that she needed to do. And she enjoyed coming here because it was very personalized therapy. I have another therapist here, Kevin. We both treat everybody the same. We both can treat all the patients that come in here. But when we see people, everybody gets a very personalized approach. It's one-on-one. We don't have aides or assistants. So you know that you're getting very personalized attention and looking at you as a whole person. So why did you get, so what are we going to do when we're choosing the exercises we give people is look at you. Why did you get that plantar fasciitis in the first place? The majority of the time, it's because something going on in their hips, their core, their back. They're lacking mobility in their hips. They're lacking mobility in their back. Their ankles don't move the way we need them to. They're weak in their hips and their core. And so you don't move as ideally as you need to. So we need to give you exercises to get all of that working together, teach your hips how to talk to your feet, how your core to talk to your feet, and everything works together. So what's the number one mistake that people make with heel pain? They ignore it. So my aunt didn't really ignore it, but she couldn't take care of it. So thus she was in the wheelchair for this graduation, and then she was hobbling around, and then her back started hurting and her hips started hurting. Once we figured out what was going on, she's like, oh, it's okay to walk on this, even though it hurts. It actually felt better. It was worse when she wasn't moving it because it was so tight and stiff. So how do we respond to people? The three ways that people respond to their pain: they ignore it, they alter it with pain medication, maybe shots, and sometimes that takes care of it, and then sometimes that is needed. However, the best way we want to do is handle it. We want to figure out why you got the problem. We want to figure out how we can treat it and take care of it. You might need some medication. And some people might need surgery, not for these issues particularly. I'm trying to think, I think I might have had someone who said that years ago they had some surgery for plantar fasciitis, but it's very rare. Usually exercise, manual therapy, where we work with our hands on your foot and your calves, loosening up your joints in your back and in your hips in order to get you better. So I touched on this a little bit. How do we work on your heel pain? First, we want to fix those, help you with those mechanics. I don't give out static stretching. That's where you kind of just hold it, for 30 seconds. I think there's a place for it. I just haven't found a need for it for some people. Usually I give people like the calf stretches where you lean against the wall and I have you move your hips back and forth, and that sort of eases in and it works with your body. We do, and some dynamic movement patterns. So we're going to work on maybe some rotational movements where you work on rotating your hips and your ankles together. So you get movement there, and then it takes away some of this repetitive stress on the foot. We're going to work on strengthening exercises, particularly your hips, your core, and working that together with your feet. Balance exercises, getting you so your foot, you can stabilize on one leg. And then we want to look at shoes and possibly orthotics. Are you wearing the right shoes? Again, going back to my aunt, she got some new walking shoes that worked really well. And then I saw her one day and she said she was going to an event that night. And I said, oh, you need to wear these shoes. She's like, no, I got to wear something else because I'm going to a party. I'm like, no, that's not a good idea. And then the next day she's like, oh, my hip is killing me. Did you do something? I'm like, no. What shoes did you wear? Oh, I wore these little sandals. And how much were you standing? Oh, I was standing a lot. So she overdid it. And so it flared up again. So, but now, unfortunately, she got COVID. So she's been resting. Her hip pain relaxed and her foot pain feels better as well. But it's very important. It's unfortunate, when people have pain in their foot, you can't stand for a lot, and you need to wear really good shoes that doesn't allow to aggravate your foot. So you can't wear some of those cute shoes anymore, or particularly when you're going through this. Sometimes, which I didn't put here, let me see. No, I guess I didn't right there. Kinesio tape. Have you ever heard of kinesio tape? That's like that colorful tape, and it's an elastic tape. We'll put that on your foot and your calf, and that can make it feel much more comfortable too for a little while. This is one of those ebooks that I'll send to you if you put your email and your name in the chat box. And this gives you tips on how to take care of yourself throughout the day. So if you keep yourself mobile and move as optimally as possible throughout the day, you have less chance of injury. And as a thank you for coming today, I'm happy to have a free 25-minute phone call or telehealth session with you to discuss what's going on and give you our recommendations on what you need to do and what we would do here to help you, or if we don't think we can help you, refer you to where you need to go. And here is my information. If you need to reach me, my email is denise@themanualtouch.com. My phone number is 847-541-7600. My phone goes to my admin's office, and you will get a voicemail. Please leave a voicemail message, and she will get back to you as soon as she's not talking to some insurance company. Please look at my website, themanualtouch.com. I have a lot of information on there that you can learn some information about. If you leave me your email, I send out a weekly newsletter with tips on how to take care of yourself. So I think that's it. Let's see who's in the chat box here. When people get plantar fasciitis due to pregnancy, if I do the exercises and then continue, lose the baby weight, is it likely the pain will resolve? I have done some PT and now have the custom orthotics, but still has some significant pain in the mornings and if I sit for a while. Thank you. Yes, you need to continue with the orthotics and lose some of the baby weight. And there may be some more specific exercises that you need. That's the reason that you're not quite overcoming it. Maybe we need to look at something else and see what's going on that might be aggravating it. Also, if I read this correctly, you've had the baby. And so now you're probably not paying as much attention to yourself now that you have the baby and you're so busy and you're getting up in the middle of the night and lifting. And so there's some things that we would talk about how to protect yourself as you're carrying your baby around. Your pelvic floor has gone through some trauma. It's good trauma, but it's not trauma nonetheless. And so we need to look at those pieces as well. And that could be holding up why you might not be healing as quickly as we want you to. Let's see, I have 2 people's email. Anybody else? Any other questions? Anyone else have any questions for me? Okay, well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I don't think I'm back again until the fall. The summer is pretty hectic. Check out some of the videos that we have of my talks in previous. There's one on back pain, shoulder pain, hip pain. I think that's it. All right.
Thank you so much, Denise.
Thank you,
everyone.
Thank you
so much for presenting today. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, Heidi says we might be back in person in the fall. So I look forward to that.
Yes, we're hoping to go hybrid.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.